Now, cheap old gaming PCs are something I love. Dusty, forgotten and full of used tech treasure. This is Pt2 PC Chronicles, and part 2 in this mini-series where we buy old gaming PCs for the value of up to £100, fix them up, give them a new lease of life and pit them against some of today's popular titles. I hope you enjoy the video. My name's Andy and this is Andy's Tech, and I've got a treat for you today. This gaming PC was listed on my local Facebook marketplace as my son's old gaming PC works GTX550 £80 0&0. So with an offer of £60 and a short drive later, I'm now the proud owner of this late 2009, early 2010 custom gaming PC. This was roughly when it was built, the lady said. Now this is part 2, so if you want to see the first PC we picked up, I will leave a link above now. The specs were unknown apart from the GTX 550, and I wasn't optimistic, but upon opening the case we have an Asus X58 motherboard with an i7 920 and oozing with overclocking retro goodness, a Vantage 120mm liquid cooler to help keep the above cool, 12GB of OCZ Gold DDR3 1600MHz RAM in triple channel. I love this stuff, it reminds me of, well you know, a 500GB hard disk drive with a fresh install of Windows 10, and it's slow even by mechanical hard drive standards and took about 10 minutes to boot and load everything in, but nothing we can't sort though. Our 560, which will be running hotter than the sun, being a single fan EVGA model, these are hot old GPUs, and a very nice 750W Corsair PSU powering all our components. I like the Cooler Master case as well, and it has two 140mm fans and 220mm side fans. This will help with our rear liquid cooler as one of the fans seems to be broken, and we will pinch one of those 120mm fans to fix that. The cooler sounds like a Black Hawk Down going down at the moment, just listen. So we've got a few little jobs to sort, but nothing we can't handle. Now one thing I can't show you via the magical video is this PC stinks. It stinks of old fags and dust, really bad. I had to plug in an air freshener and my whole flat still stinks. So let's get our trusty data vac and WD-40 out and get this old beast cleaned up. I'm always amazed at what a little elbow grease can do, and I think you'll agree the PC came up lovely. The rear fan turned out to be just full of dust, and we stripped down the PC, cleaned and repasted everything, and it's running as good as new. But what to do next? Well, we have an X58 motherboard, an i7, some nice RAM and a liquid cooler. So let's get to some overclocking and see how far we can push the old girl in 2022. Okay, so if we jump into the desktop now and we bring up CPU-Z, we can see we have our i7 920, that's a 2.67 GHz chip, 4 cores 8 threads on the 45nm architecture. It's boosting to about 2.8 GHz at the moment. We have our mainboard, our P6T Deluxe Asus, and we have our lovely OCZ RAM running at 1600 MHz, triple channel as well. and our 560 Ti as well. So we need to get a base score before we overclock the system. I've used Heaven and Cinebench for this. They're both free to download programs. Unfortunately 3D Mark Firestrike won't run because of the 1GB of VRAM, so we're limited to these two today, but they will do the job. So if I bring up Cinebench, and as our base score on our test run we were getting 920, which is kind of funny because it is an i7 920. And if I bring up Heaven now, and we have a score of 3,378. That's at 720p low settings. So there's our base score, and if we shut this down now and jump into the BIOS, and we're back in the desktop. My capture card wouldn't work unfortunately in the BIOS. It was doing all sorts of funny stuff. So I'll just have to show you a phone shot of it now. We managed a 4 GHz overclock on our little i7, which is a very nice improvement over our stock 2.67 and will definitely help when it comes to games. Graphics wise, we managed to get a 75 MHz overclock on our core clock and a 300 MHz overclock on our memory, which should also help when it comes to the games. But how does that relate to our synthetic benchmarks, I hear you ask? Well, in Cinebench our score jumped to 1,293 from our original 920, and in Heaven we now have a score of 3,967. Not a massive gain in Heaven, but every little helps when you're running a system like this. So what next but to jump into some games, and I've lined a few up today that I think would be a fair pairing with this system. So first up we have CSGO, a game I always like to include in benchmarks, and still a very popular free online multiplayer title. Some might even say it's broken on lower end systems, but not today. Our little £60 system completely smashed it, with an average FPS of 170 and 1% lows of 72 at 1080p low settings. Our frame time graph was nice and steady, and you could easily play competitively on a system like this. Next up we have a game I've not included before, but I thought it was worth adding to our budget system bench list. The Elder Scrolls Skyrim Special Edition. We managed 1080p low settings here. I played through the first couple of levels with no issues. We could also play at 720p medium settings, but I didn't feel the sacrifice of resolution was worth the gain in quality, and the game still looks very nice at 1080p low. Rust next. Yeah, I thought I'd try it, and we did go for both 720p and 1080p, but it just kept getting stuck on this loading screen, and after 10 tries and about 10 minutes on each try just being stuck here, I abandoned all hope and moved on to the next game. Now it wouldn't be a potato gaming PC review if we didn't test Fortnite. Warzone for kids that you can actually win, I like to call it. I'm neither good at Fortnite nor Warzone, but to be down with the kids, I like to test it on these potato PC builds, as it's generally a game people want to get into PC gaming on the cheap for. It's also the newest title in today's benchmarks. At 1080p competitive settings, which is low with epic view distance, we returned a 61 FPS average with 1% lows of 32. Now you can set Fortnite to performance mode, which will drastically improve the frame rate, but I like to leave it in DirectX 11 or DirectX 12, as it just makes the game look a little nicer. And we were getting a 60 FPS average or just above. It's a very nice playable experience for a budget little system like this. Last up we have a AAA title from 2016, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Now I was really surprised with this result and expected it to tank at 720p low, but over half an hour's gameplay at 1080p low with FXAA on, we returned 52.1 FPS average with 1% lows of 33. It was smooth, and if you didn't have a screen statistics on, you would never know or complain at it being below 60 FPS, and as a budget gamer, 30 plus is good enough for me. Well, that brings us to the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed bringing this old girl back to life. I'm sure its new owner will be happy when I sell it on and hopefully make a small profit in the process. Please leave a like and a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. And thanks again for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one.